Let's kick things off here, Pat, with some news that is pretty fun for us because anytime we can get some new players going here in the States, we always are really excited about that. And we do have some new players as of today.
Yeah, literally pretty much just now as we're coming on to record this, Kansas is live. There's 6 operators: Barstool, BetMGM, Caesars, DraftKings, FanDuel, PointsBet. And yeah, it's all a go. That was a very quick path from the governor's signature back in May to launch now. But that's, credit to the regulators, the Kansas Racing and Gaming Commission that works closely with the Kansas Lottery, which actually owns the casinos that are the partners. So I think everything was kind of really easy to streamline over there. And they're ready to roll right in time for the NFL season.
Dustin, for people who are in states out there that have some sort of legislation done or really close to legislation, yet we're always predicting that, hey, it's going to take a long time. It may be by football. We've said this for the last couple of years, maybe by football season for state XYZ, maybe probably closer to the Super Bowl for state XYZ. How do we look at Kansas and see them launching already?
Here's the thing at this point in the history of and the evolution of U.S. sports betting is you don't need to reinvent the wheel. These companies are licensed everywhere else. Really, it's just a function of the fact that we have a state-by-state regime where you have to legalize it on a state-by-state basis. But you do not need to, these are obviously good actors that don't need a ton of vetting. And Kansas, I don't know if you need to go as fast as Kansas, but there's certainly a middle ground between what Kansas did and what's going on in like a Maryland or an Ohio, right? That's taking a fairly long time in both. Fairly is obviously in Maryland. We don't even know when a launch date is, but you can do this. You can do this now. You have this critical mass of states. Again, we should just have U.S. sports betting everywhere. That's not going to happen though. We're not going to get federal regulation. In place of that though, you can use what's going on in the rest of the states as a proxy for moving on and moving forward and getting everything right. So Kansas did they thought it was important to start realizing the revenue now. If you're going to launch sports betting, you're just not doing it at a random time, this is when you need to launch. Other than that, you should launch in front of the Super Bowl, which is again the single biggest day of customer acquisition in any U.S. sports betting market. So for that, it's important. I think it's really good to launch into the busiest time of year so that you get customers readily accepting and getting into a regulated and legal sports book.
Pat, you mentioned the ones that are going live. Is there possibility for additional sports books to come into play down the line?
Yeah, so each of the 4 state-owned casinos are able to have three skins. So Ballybet's also in there, Golden Nugget. I think Fox Bet has access now. We don't know. Ballybet's been kind of slowly rolling out their new product across the country. Not even across the country. I think they're live in 1 market, maybe 2. So who knows when the rest of them will launch? But they've got the big 6. I guess depending on how you kind of view PointsBet and Barstool. But
yeah, no, yeah. Absolutely. Dustin, and then we make predictions here on this podcast. We've done it for a long time. Where do you think in the pecking order we're kind of going to see Kansas? Is there a comparable market that's already going right now that you think is where we can kind of look for the upside to be?
I mean, I think Mr. Evans put it in his story this morning, and you can read it, Legal Sports Report. Connecticut's a decent comp, at least from a what the market's like. It's you have fairly small population. The thing that Kansas has going for it, though, is it's going to have more operators than Connecticut. Connecticut's is pretty small in terms of how many operators. It's only 3 sports betting operators. So I think there's upside for Kansas. You're going to get the other part is you're going to get the drive-in from Kansas City for sure. Not everybody knows this, but Kansas City is the big Kansas City is in Missouri. You cross over. You're from Missouri. Missouri does not yet have legal sports betting. You come over. So that drive-in, we've seen in markets with big cities nearby, we've seen real evidence of that. Going back to people coming from New York and going into New Jersey just to bet, and that is a meaningful amount of handle. Chicago, early days, people were going to Indiana to bet, or they lived in Indiana and worked in Chicago. Who knows? But there's some serious upside for Kansas right now, especially, you know, we've had, there was this quote unquote race between Missouri and Kansas. We thought Missouri was actually probably more of a favorite to get done than Kansas this year, and then Missouri, you know, stayed on the sideline. So there's that. You know, it's not going to be a huge market. Again, pretty small population, but you know, it has a chance for the short term at least to punch above its weight.